Oh cool, a Jigglypuff. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet introduced possibly one of the strangest variations of Pokemon. These are the Paradox Pokemon. I won't spoil why they appear just in case you haven't played the games yet, but you know, some spoilers are ahead, so be warned. In Scarlet, we have our prehistoric dinosaur Pokemon. Some of them, like Screamtail and Brute Bonnet, really do feel like they belong in that one SpongeBob episode, whereas others such as Sandy Shocks and Fluttermane are a bit more timeless. Obviously inspired by prehistoric times, but maybe not necessarily in our timeline. In Violet, we got robots. They're just the same, but robotic. I'm a Violet defender through and through, but even I'll be the first to admit that the future Paradox Pokemon leave a little more to be desired. I'll get to those one of these days, but today I actually just want to revisit some of the past Paradox Pokemon and give some of them a bit of a redesign with a fun little twist. The idea for revamping Paradox Pokemon was suggested in the comments and also in my Twitch chat. It was suggested that I revamp Fluttermane with parts of Mischievous, Ghastly, Duskull, Sableye, and Drifloon, and then do Sandy Sharks with parts of Magneton, Probopass, Metang, and Bronzong. I'm a huge fan of this idea, so let's do it. A one-way ticket to the past, please. The first Paradox Pokemon I tackled was Fluttermane. It has a more simple design, and I feel like the other Pokemon will be easier to incorporate into this redesign, so it's almost kind of a warm-up. I began by immediately giving it that Duskull quiff and the cross from Drifloon's face. I then proceeded with Fluttermane's usual eyes and then completed the face with the Duskull teeth and general bone face thing that it's got going on. From there I went ahead and drew in a lot of the defining Fluttermane features. These are really just meant to be redesigns and not completely new designs. If I went too hard on the designs, I think it would actually have to be a completely different Pokemon. I hadn't incorporated anything from Ghastly yet, so I figured the gas would be a nice nod to that Pokemon considering its only other design feature is literally just a floating circle. The Sableye incorporation lives and dies with a solitary gem. I really don't think I need to add more than that. Same goes for Drifloon. I just added in the balloon string part so that there was slightly more than just the cross to go off, but other than those two features, that's pretty much it for the Drifloon incorporation. For the first time ever, I decided to color in my sketch. I had a feeling just the lines on this sketch would just be really difficult to draw over as I anticipated from my previous video. Adding color this early on not only helps me when I eventually go to do the inking, but I also unexpectedly discovered that it really helps with visualizing the final design right before I actually go to finish the piece off. I was even able to independently move the gas so that it could be just right in its placement. Thank God I had the foresight to draw it on a separate layer. Now, before I line that piece, it's time to switch over to Sandy Shocks, who will be sharing design features from some of our favorite steel types. This time I started off with penciling in some of Sandy's features rather than the features of an inspiration Pokemon. I figured it would work as a really good starting foundation. I gave it a Probopass hat and had it levitate over its top eye. This is sort of a callback to Bronzong, which really got the short end of the stick when it came to visual incorporations. Instead of magnets, I thought its arms could be directly from Metang. The rest of the body is finished off the same as Sandy Shocks' vanilla design. I did actually omit the tail because I think it wouldn't have really worked in this specific artwork, and it would have completely ruined the balance when taking into account the rule of thirds. All of that busyness in the middle section would have made the sides look really weak in comparison. I did not notice after the initial sketch that it was very lopsided. We can't be having any of this. It's not based on Lopunny. The coloring is pretty straightforward. I did the exact same thing I did for Fluttermane, in which I just picked the corresponding colors from the inspiration Pokemon and put them on this new Sandy Sharks. The more I look at this design, the more I kinda dig it. I'm glad I warmed up with Fluttermane because Sandy Sharks is definitely a stronger redesign in my opinion, but maybe you disagree. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And while you're at it, maybe subscribe so you don't miss my future videos. After sketching out our resident redesigns, I moved on to the line art, and yes, I am very, very happy that I colored in the sketches before moving on, because it did in fact make this process so much easier. Fluttermane was a nice simple Pokemon to line. It did have some tricky areas, especially the pearls, because I wasn't sure if I should fill in that small gap or leave it to be colored in. Ultimately, I decided on filling it with black. It may not be what the artists at Game Freak would have done, but if I think it will look better, then I'm happy to deviate from what the official art style allows for. Coloring was, again, pretty straightforward. Nothing too crazy here. I had my little sketch in the corner so I could just directly color pick. Maybe I'll just do this for every sketch I do from now on. It's kind of been a lifesaver. The gem was what I spent the most amount of time on, to be honest. Gems are actually really tricky to get right, and then replicating the official Pokemon art style on top of that is really a nightmare, to be honest. I got a result I was happy with in the end, however. I even changed the color of the line art so it would really stand out as an accent to the overall design. Finally, just some shading and highlighting, and before we check it out in its finished glory, we're gonna flick back over to Sandy Sharks. Again, the line art was actually an alright time. Unheard of, I know. I'm like, enjoying the process. It's kind of becoming a form of me time. I can just sit and watch YouTube or listen to Big Ideas by Remy Wolf while I ink away. I did the same thing as I did for Fluttermane for the coloring. I picked everything from the sketch. If the colors didn't look quite right, or I did just want to change anything for whatever reason, I would do that. The sketch isn't the end all be all. Just thought I might mention that. Next step in the process is naturally shading, highlighting, and some final little details, and ta-da! Give a warm welcome to our freshly redesigned Paradox Pokemon, Sandy Sharks, and Fluttermane. I'm going to be so completely honest with you and just say that I am in love with these. I genuinely think they look really good. Perhaps Fluttermane could use some fine tuning, but overall, not bad. I feel like since I started this little channel, I've been rapidly improving with my fakemon, and I really appreciate everyone who watches my videos and takes the time to check out my artwork. I have Instagram, so please go check that out if you want to see the high quality version of these artworks. I post them throughout the week. Remember to subscribe to my channel. I upload videos every single Friday or Saturday if you live on Mirage Island, just like me. I will see you all next week, where I'm going to take the Route 101 Pokemon from Hoenn and make convergence out of them. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Unless I can't get out of this time period, in which case I'll see you in 200 million years.